When did a funeral go terribly wrong? My neighbor Anna knocked on my door one morning looking desperate. She offered me $200 to attend her aunt's funeral that afternoon and pretend to be a grieving friend. Apparently appearances mattered a lot to their family, and an empty funeral home would be a great shame. She gave me a quick bio of her aunt to memorize, and one strict rule under no circumstances was I to interact with her aunt's son, Dylan. He'd been unstable since his mother's death, and while police had questioned him, they couldn't prove anything. Needing the money, I agreed. When I arrived, the funeral home was almost deserted. Dylan sat alone in the second row, rocking slightly, his eyes fixed on his mother's casket. He was younger than I expected, maybe 25. As I signed the guest book with the fake name Anna gave me, I felt his gaze shift to me, and a chill went down my spine. I quickly took a seat near the back, close to the exit. The service began, and when it was time for family to speak, Dylan stood up before anyone else could move. His eulogy started normally, but his tone quickly shifted from grief to barely controlled rage. She would still be here if certain people hadn't abandoned her, he said, his voice rising. He started pointing at relatives, naming their sins. Aunt Anna, who wouldn't lend her money for medicine. Uncle Robert, who called her a burden. As people began to stand looking for an escape, Dylan walked calmly to the main doors and locked them. He pulled a key from his pocket and locked the side door, announcing he'd jammed it from the outside earlier. Nobody leaves until I'm finished. He then held up a thick folder. I have here every email, every text, every voicemail she left begging for help that you all ignored. He pressed play on his phone, and his mother's weak, desperate voice filled the church, pleading with Anna for grocery money, begging Uncle Robert for help with her power bill, telling Sarah her heart was skipping beats but she couldn't afford a doctor. The family erupted. Sarah confessed she'd told her aunt to skip doses to save money. The whole room devolved into a screaming match of accusations and guilt. Through the chaos, Anna screamed, "I've been hiring people for years, our family is so small, I was ashamed." The police, called by someone on a silenced phone, surrounded the building. Dylan, strangely calm now, let a paramedic in. While everyone's attention was on the family feud, I discreetly passed a note to the paramedic about a doctored pharmacy receipt Sarah had mentioned. Soon after, Dylan surrendered without a fight and was led to an ambulance for psychiatric evaluation, not jail. Days later, I was subpoenaed to testify. The police found evidence of medical neglect from the whole family, but concluded Dylan's mother's death was ultimately a tragic accident, not an intentional murder. Anna has left me voicemails threatening to sue me for ruining her family's reputation. I don't care. I gave the $200 to the police to be used for Dylan's mother's headstone. Every time I close my eyes, I'm back in that locked church, and I see Dylan's face not as an unhinged man but as someone who meticulously planned to finally get justice for his mother.